Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome. Today is Fabulous Friday. And as you know, I try to come on and give you a word of encouragement. I give you something that the Lord has put in my spirit to share with his people. And so I want everybody to come on in and join me. I try to be quick. I try not to take up too much of your time, but I try to say enough that will minister something to your heart, to your spirit, to your mind, that will take you to a whole nother level in who God has called you to be and doing what God has called you to do. So join me. And also, I say this all the time, make sure to share the word with somebody, because you never know who needs to hear this word. You never know what anybody's going through. So share the word. Let the gospel go viral. We got a lot of stuff going viral. Let the gospel go viral. So share and tune in. And so I'm coming at you today. I'm a little tired. This weekend, actually last night, I was scheduled to speak in Sunflower, Alabama, and had a phenomenal time in the Lord. God just really moved. He really did something phenomenal on last night, and I wanted to live stream it, but it was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and so the live recording was going in and out, and I posted a picture, a selfie, saying, okay, I'll be back on later for the live stream. And we tried, but like I said, the location where it was at, the internet services were not picking up good, so I could not live stream it. However, I am back today, and I'm ready to share with you a word for this hour. And so as I was meditating, God gave me that now is the time. That is the subject for today. Now is the time. One thing, I've been releasing some things that's been going on in the world when it comes to judgment and things that are at hand that is going to happen all over the world. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, I prophesied that as a sign of the times that we are in and as a sign of judgment that is going forth, I prophesied at my church that there were going to be sinkholes just popping up all over the world, where the sinkholes were, things were just going to begin sinking. And a few days ago, last week actually, I believe, the news hit that there was a massive sinkhole that took place in, I think, Lakewood or Lakeland, Florida, somewhere down there. And 11 homes were affected. 2 homes went under. And God was just saying that this world is sinking, that the people are sinking to a low place. The sin has gotten so great in the land, and that God was going to give us a sign of the world sinking, of sinkholes just popping up and things sinking as a sign of where we're at. And so we saw a manifestation of that on the other day, and I shared it with my church. I said, keep praying. I said, because this world is in a very low place. However, at the same time, this world being in a very low place and it's sinking even lower every day, God said that those that are in him, he said, fear not the times that you're in. He said, because now is the time for me to manifest my glory in your life like never before. He said, now is the time for you to embrace a new season. Now is the time for you to encounter a new level. And he said, now is the time that thing that, if you've been following my FabFriday's Word of the Day, I've been talking about decisions that you're going to have to make some crucial decisions, that now that you've made the decision, now what? And so because God has been challenging our faith to simply trust him in this season, this time, and this hour, because there are some things that are a bit scary that we've had to make a decision on, that we've had to say, okay, God, I'm going to go forth in this thing. I choose to trust you. I choose to be with you and do whatever you tell me to do. Doing it scared, doing it nervous, not having enough, not having everything in place. But because God said it, that's it. God is looking for those who have a God said it, that's it mentality, meaning that you'll go for broke, trusting God, meaning that you'll take a risk knowing that Jehovah Jireh, your provider, that he is the God that you believe him to be, that he is with you every step of the way. He's with you on the mountaintop. He's with you in the valley. He's with you even when you're in that in-between place. You're not really on the mountaintop. You're not really in the valley. You're just somewhere in between. God is with you, and he was like saying, as the world is going to this low place, as the world is sinking and the sin of the land is getting great and the wealth of the wicked, you're going to see the wealthy people going for broke, bankruptcy. He said, as all these things are manifesting, he said that know that my glory is yet with you. Know that I am with you. And he said, know that now is your time. Now is your time. The come up is now. Even though the world is going to a low place, he said, I'm lifting you up. I'm bringing you to a high place. Why? Because you chose to trust me. Why? Because you chose to take a step out on faith. Because you chose to do what I, thus said the Lord, have told you to do. He said, now is the time that you shall see a manifestation of my glory, not just my glory. He said, now is the time that you shall see a manifestation of my favor. He said, in this season, time, and hour, you're going to see a consumption of favor that is going to overflow, that is going to overtake you. Matter of fact, some of you are going to, I like to describe it when God gives it to me this way, it's like you're drowning in favor. Watch this, because the turnaround is at hand. Though a lot of people, a lot of worldly folk are going to be sinking. You're going to see signs of things sinking. He said, know that I am lifting you up. I'm raising up a standard for you. I am lifting you out of the gutter. Some of you are coming out of depression. Some of you, thank you, God. I see supernatural weight loss coming off of some folk. I don't know who that is and I don't know why that is, but I just know it's God. God says some of you are about to experience a supernatural encounter. Some of you are about to go into that most holy place. This is a place that you've not embarked. It's like you've been in the outer court, you've gone into the inner court, but God says some of you are about to have an experience with God. He said, you're going to know that I, the Lord thy God, am with you, that now is the time to elevate your faith. Now is the time to trust me. He said, this decision that many of you just made to step out on faith, to believe me for greater. He said, this decision that you made, he said, you're about to see a manifestation that's so real, that is so true. And then when people look at you, you're going to say, that one number God. See, because some of you are having to walk away from jobs. Some of you are having to walk away from relationships. Some of you are having to walk away from people that you have been in like this network in. I don't know, this deep relationship, this deep connection. He said, you're having to walk away what was known to you into something that was so unknown. And he said, know that because you made the decision to trust me, because you made a decision to embark on a new journey, some of you are investing in yourself. Some of you are investing in businesses. Some of you are doing something that is making you feel uncomfortable, that's making you feel like, okay, I know God said it, but that don't mean it got to feel good while I'm doing it. Some of you are on the way to the mountaintop. I like to describe it as that. And God said, because you chose to worship me, because you chose to step out on faith in that in-between place, he said, I'm about to allow you to go and experience my glory at an all-time new level. Watch this. I don't care what it is. God said, because you took you took a risk on me. And he said, know that I, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, I am moved by your faith. I am moved by your faith, said the Lord. He said, because it was because of Abraham's faith that I gave him a lot of credit, and his credit brought him wealth. His credit brought him great abundance. He said it was Abraham's faith that allowed the overflow to come into his life. It was Abraham's faith that caused him to have a seed that would make him the father of many nations. He said it was Abraham's faith to leave a known place to go into an unknown place. Didn't know what was going to be produced in that unknown place. Didn't know who the Lord was going to bring. Didn't know what kind of wealth or abundance. It was Abraham. He said the father, your father. He said the father of many nations. He said it was him that allowed you to have the faith that you're having. He said many of you need to go back and look at Abraham and see the choice that he made, see the decision that he made. The wealth that Abraham had, he didn't obtain it when he left. God said Abraham obtained it when he stepped out on faith. He had some stuff, yes, true that. But because Abraham chose to trust God, God said now is the time for a supernatural manifestation for you to see that I am who I say I am, that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. He said, so I just see people laying in the spirit realm, laying prostrate before God in a posture of worship, in a posture of praise, because you're believing him for something that's bigger than you. You're believing him for something that you have no control control over. No, you can't change man. Only God can change man. You can't change your finances, but you can take steps of faith that can open up doors of favor and opportunity that could cause change to hit your bank account. You can't change your husband. You can't change your wife. But God said, now is the time, because you chose to step out on me and go into the unknown, the place that I am taking you. He said, and experience at me at an all-time new level, because you chose to do something that made you uncomfortable. He said, I'm about to make you real comfortable in this new season that you're in. I preached last night about a rubber band, and the purpose of the rubber band was to be stretched. He said, if that rubber band was not stretched, it would not fulfill its purpose. People did not invent rubber bands to stay still. They invented rubber bands to be stretched. In the stretching, God said, you're making room for your increase. In the stretching, he said, you're making room for favor. In the stretching, he said, you're making room for divine connections. See, he said, you got to let go of the place that you're in. And he said, you got to embrace the stretching. And with the stretching, watch this, comes tension. Tension comes. You got to add tension to a rubber band for it to stretch to where it needs to be. And he said, because in this season that you're in, tension has been applied to your life. There's a little bit of tension, and it's okay. You gotta get that stress. You gotta get that tension applied, because that's what's gonna cause the increase to come forth. I hope y'all catch this, because a rubber band is about, let's take a rubber band that's this big. He said tension, stress had to be applied to that rubber band for it to expand. He said, know that just because you're experiencing some tension, just because you're experiencing a little bit of stress, he said, now is the time for expansion. Now is the time for increase. Now is the time for favor. But you got to embrace the tension. You got to embrace the stretching. You got to embrace the decision that you have just yet made to trust God. God said, watch and see what I'm going to do. He said, so in the stretching, he said, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That means that now you got a new schedule that you got to make. That means now you got to go sit down and allot some time to write the book. Yep, that's right. You got to sit down and you gotta pencil in time to write the book. You gotta pencil in time to work on your business plan. You gotta pencil in time to work on your strategies. You gotta pencil in time to write a new vision. You gotta pencil in time. I don't care what your busy day look like, because there's so much going on all around you. But God said, if you don't make room, if you don't begin to stretch where you're at, he said, your capacity will always be limited. He said, your capacity will always be but yay big. He said, but when you begin to make room, when you begin to expand, when you begin to embrace the stretching, he said, I'm going to give you an encounter like never before. I just see people coming from the north, south, east, and west to sow seeds into the hands of God, of God's people, those that are believing him, those that are trusting him. Watch this. God said the vision is bigger than you. But watch this. In this season, Boaz is going to find the wife. In this season, business are going to be expanded. In this season, investors are going to come. In this season, new relationships are going to be made. He said, but you got to embrace your now. And in your now, there has to be an expansion. There has to be tension. There has to be stress. Come on, somebody. We think that stress is not necessarily good for us. The tension, because I'm telling you, tension don't always feel good. He said, but you got to have the tension. You got to have a little bit of stress, because guess what? The stress and the tension is going to frustrate where you're at. And because the frustration is where you're at, he said the stress and the tension is going to cause you to want to do something different. It's going to frustrate you to a point that you say, God, it's got to be more. God, I got to do more. God, if I keep sitting down on this, it's going to always bug me. It's going to always be in my heart. God said you got to embrace the tension and the stress that you're feeling, because it's pushing you in the direction that God needs you to be pushed. You know, it's like a Joseph experience. In order for Joseph to tap into, he went from the pit to the palace. But in order for him to tap into the palace, the pit had to be embraced, because the pit was the thing, the place that brought him out, that stretched his anointing, because he went from the pit to a jailhouse. How many of you know that even in the jailhouse, even when he came up out of the pit and went to the jail, it was still a pit for him. But in that pit, it was a low place. Come on, somebody. A low place can be any place. But in that low place, Joseph was stretched. His anointing was pulled on. His gift was pulled on. His talent was pulled on. He began to embrace the pit. He began to embrace the tension that was being applied to his life. He began to embrace the stress that was all over him. And what he did was he embraced it, and his anointing, he began to get stressed. He began to get stressed. He began to get stressed. And then we know that he encountered two men. Watch this. Divine connections are going to be there. He encountered two men, and one of them was the answer to his breakthrough. Watch this. In the pit, in that place of tension, in that place of stretching, God will send you somebody that you're going to connect with, and eventually they're going to come back and remember you and say, I know a man, I know a woman, I know, come on somebody, they're going to remember you in that place where you was experiencing a pit. You had a pit experience, but you didn't know it was pulling on your anointing, and it was pulling on your gift and your talent so that it could make room for you and bring you before great men. So Joseph went from a pit to another pit. And then it was in that next pit that he was able to get to that hot place, that he was able to get to achieve more. He was able to do more. So let me tell y'all something. In this now time, don't act just because you're struggling a little bit, because that struggle is pushing you to your next dimension, to your breakthrough. God said, now is the time to embrace your struggle. Now is the time to embrace your frustration, because it is going to push you into your next. I'm going to say that you got to be a good caregiver of your now so that you can embrace and walk in your next. I don't care what you have in your now. God said, if you can be a good shepherd with the little, he said, I'll give you more. But a lot of times we can't handle the tension, and we can't handle the stress. And because we can't handle it, God will look at us and say, oh, she ain't ready for that next level. She ain't ready for that thing that she been praying about. He ain't ready, because look at what he did. I just tested him. God said, many of you are in a now season, but you got to show him that you could pass a now test. A now test could be somebody coming at you the wrong way. What will you do when somebody tell you what they think about you and it hurts you to the core? But I'm going to say this, when somebody tell you how they feel about you, you better believe them. You better take their word at face value. But one thing you better not let it do, you better not let it take you to a pit and allow you to stay in that pit. He said, because people will reveal their truth to you. And when they reveal their truth to you, God said that's a test for you to understand that there's a great breaking away that has to happen, that you ain't really supposed to be connected to him anyway. They're testing you to see if you're ready for the next. Can you handle the little tension that you got right now, so that when God catapults you to your next level, you can say, God, look, I passed this little test. I passed that girl. I passed that man, that woman, that boy, that girl that was coming at me the wrong way. I passed it. I paid my tithes. Even when I was having lack to pay my bills, I paid my tithe. God, I didn't get an attitude. God, I did this. God, I'm showing you that while I'm in my pit, while I'm in my now time of blessing and breakthrough, because let me tell you, you could be fooled. You could think just because you're in a pit that it's not a now time for blessing. But God said, I will bless you in the pit, and I will bless you in the palace. But here's the thing about the pit. You got to show God that you can handle what is coming at you in the pit. Joseph was in the pit, but he was the best pit person that he could be in the pit, meaning that he did everything he could do while he was in the pit, meaning that he passed the test so that he could get to the palace. And even the palace, and even in the pit, because he was doing what he needed to do and what he was called to do and what he was purposed to do, he found favor in the pit. But see, the favor that he encountered in the pit had nothing to do with the favor that he encountered in the palace. I mean, it had no comparison to the favor that he had in the palace. But see, watch this. The favor that you're having that you can have right now is depending upon your attitude. It's depending upon your actions. It's depending upon your reflex. It's depending upon if you're going to let man test you and prove to God that you ain't ready, or are you going to let man test you and prove to God that you are ready for what God has for you? See, there's a blessing in the pit and there's a blessing in the palace. Either way it goes, it's a now time for God to manifest his now glory. But you got to understand these steps of faith. While the world is sinking, God said you on the come up. While the world is sinking, you are on the rise. While the world is sinking because they're failing tests that God is bringing before them. But he said, you, my people who are called by my name, shall be lifted up. He said, my glory shall consume you. My glory shall go go before you as you go before man. So you got to pull on what God has on the inside of you and say, God, I'm ready. God, send that old Jezebel over here. Let her talk that foolishness. I'm going to show you that I'm not going to let Jezebel bring me to a low. I'm not going to be like an Elijah and run and not want to use my gifts and talents because somebody come at me the wrong way, because somebody hurt my feelings, because I don't have all the money in place, because I don't have this and I don't have that. I'm not going to use an excuse like Elijah did. God said, now is the time. But the thing is that everybody can get this word, but everybody can't really receive it. See, you can say, now is the time for me too. But then you go back and you get tested. You fail the test and you wonder why you in this season longer than you supposed to have been. Because God said, I want you to pass the test. God said, I want you to show me that I can trust you. He said, there's a blessing in the pit, but there's even more blessings in the palace. He said, both gonna get you blessings, but each one is gonna require a test. Wherever you go, it's going to require a test. God said, will you trust me when you got little? He said, because if I could trust you with the little right now, he said, I'm going to bless you with way more than you ever imagined in your entire life. So show God that you can be trusted in your now so that you can get to your next, so that you can be blessed and highly favored more than you are now. Because I'm not saying you aren't now. I'm just saying there's another level of blessed and highly favored. But if you content with your blessed and highly favored right there where you at, then your rubber band ain't gonna get stretched. That means you ain't gonna stretch it enough so that you can reach even more capacity of blessed and highly favored. You're gonna be stuck right there because you're comfortable with this blessed and highly favored, and you don't need another level from God. God said, but that's called faith. God said there is always something that we should be believing God for more for. Why are you not believing me more for something? God said that's part of who he is. He moves by faith. And if you don't have faith for something, then what's going on? Why are you comfortable with being stagnant? Stagnant water always brings contamination. Come on, somebody. As long as you stay stagnant in whatever area, it don't matter what it is, you should always be wanting more. Because if you don't want more in each area of your life, that means stagnation has taken place. Still water always brings contamination. God wants you to be ever flowing, ever moving, ever believing, ever trusting, ever growing, ever learning, ever reaching a capacity. So if you reach one goal, it's time to pull your rubber band some more and set a new goal, because there's a greater capacity for blessed and highly favored that wants to hit you. So I hope on today that I said something that is going to push you, that the Lord is saying it's a now time. The world is sinking, and watch this, you're going to hear about more sinkholes popping up. As surely as I am a prophet of God, watch this. The one that just popped up was in Lakeland, Florida, or some part of Florida, Lake something, Florida. Y'all Google it. I'm not lying. Go Google it. It's been on the news that these sinkholes that I prophesy have been sinking. They have been sinking. God said that's a sign of the world sinking and going to a low place, even lower than it is. You think God is so much seeing now, how can we get in it lower? But God said it's going to an even lower place. But God said as the world is sinking and going to a low place, you are on the come up. But do you believe it? Even if you feel like you in the pit, even if you feel like you're in a low place, just like the world is, God said there's a blessing in the low place. All he needs is your faith, because you are Joseph in this season. You are a Joseph in this season. And as you are in the low place, God said you can be blessed in the low place, and even more so that you'll begin to get to the palace. So I need you to understand that this is a now time for God to manifest his blessings and his favor. I pray that you receive this word by faith, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take faith. It may not look like this word is manifesting. It may not sound like, it may not seem like, but God is looking for someone who don't just have sight, but has vision, that you can see past where you're at. God needs somebody to have vision. See past where you're at. I don't care what's going on right now. See past where you're at. And if you need help understanding God, hearing God, my prophetic gift zone class is still open, y'all. I got a little less than 2 weeks of enrollment. Enroll now, the prophetic gift zone. It will take you to an all-time level of hearing God. I can promise you, your dreams and your visions will go to another level. Expansion in the prophetic realm, going to another level. Go to trishmnow.com. Get my free class, Prophetic 101, 3 free classes. After those 3 free classes, if you like it, go on to the 12-month program. If not, it's all good, because I know I'm called to a certain a group of people, those that are ready to get this type of training. So if you are ready, remember the prophetic gift song. Take the 3 free classes. Get a secret code to get in at a discounted rate. But whatever you do, do something to stretch your rubber band, to stretch the capacity of where you are now, because God is ready to move. It is a now time and a now season. Okay, guys, I am done. I hope you received this, and I hope that you have been blessed. It's Fabulous Friday. Go make something happen that is absolutely fabulous for your life. All right. Love you guys, and don't forget to share the word. All right. Talk soon.